Hello and welcome to the St Kilda and Bayside Report. It is June 2025. I'm Gary Peer.
I'm Jeremy Rosens. This is our winter edition, Gary.
It's a winter edition, Jeremy.
It is cold.
It's been a little bit frosty, a little bit cool, but we've had a pretty good run up till now. It's been pretty
Hasn't
good
been
for
too
Melbourne.
bad. Yeah,
it's
no
been
complaints.
Pretty good, got to say. And pretty good out there in the market too, I'm finding. There's a lot of good clearances and some good competition.
Well, I don't know whether the market's got good clearance. I'd like to think they do, but I think our clearance in terms of the suburbs that we're operating have been phenomenal, I want to say. Is it?
Well, we were
overstretched a little bit too much?
No, I think that's could be even undercooking it, but we were 89%, I think, last weekend.
Yep.
And that was on a serious volume of properties.
Yes.
And
when you say last weekend, as in the weekend just gone, not the weekend,
the
weekends
weekend before
ago,
was about the same, 83%. And we had 100% a few weeks ago and 90%. So we've been running probably on average of, I reckon, around 90%, I reckon, or thereabouts.
And a number of sales before auction.
A lot of
which
sales
is an
before
interesting
auction.
one, Gary.
Sales before auction, I don't know if I'd say the way to go, but it seems to be happening a lot more. I think vendors and buyers are much more content to meet each other before the day than they have been in the past. I don't know what to put that down to. Got any ideas?
I think it's probably a combination of when the rates come down, it drives the market forward, which could drive a little bit of fear of missing out in people, that old FOMO thing. And I think vendors, from a strategy point of view, are happy not necessarily to have their day in the sun,
if they
metaphorically speaking.
If they don't need to.
There's a number that's good enough before, and if you've got processes like we do, Gary, which we won't go into great detail about how we can maximise people's price.
Can't share the special sauce,
no,
can we?
No. Although you do look a little bit like, what's his name?
Well, Colonel Sanders,
You look like you borrowed his eyebrows, Gary.
I know, they're a bit bushy.
You look like you got a lot of special spices in there.
Well, just before we went, pressed record, you looked at me and you just jumped back a little bit.
I've got a photo, which
I've got a photo. Well, I'm not sure, but you don't like you don't like the bushy eyebrows. But
well, I think there's a place for them, and I think not this place.
Okay, fair enough.
And I think you're at an age where you could probably just give them a little bit of a trim because you're not over the hill, Gary. Although your eyebrows would suggest that you're closer to the hill.
No doubt. You'll send me to that place, I'm sure.
We're in June, Gary.
Yeah, we are.
Which is the beginning of winter, and we discussed this morning that July is a very interesting time. In Melbourne, for a number of reasons. What would those reasons be? We've obviously got school holidays.
We do.
We've got winter.
We've got the King's birthday,
which is very
important. All hail
yes,
the King.
Yes.
To the King.
Yeah. Okay. We've done that now.
Okay.
So we've got school holidays. We've got it's getting colder, which historically, for some reason, sellers of real estate, being owners of homes, they kind of think seasons are when you should sell when it's all pretty constant.
It was. Well, spring was the traditional. For those traditionalists, spring was the selling season. A lot of people stayed away from winter and they made it all happen in spring. But you and I have both had sales and sold our own properties in winter.
Yes.
We've seen the value in it because people have got time to sell their own homes through the spring period. There's less competition around, and there's still plenty of buyers.
Supply and demand, Gary. All markets rely on supply and demand.
Out with. Well, there's no question about that. I want to go back just though to this selling for auction because there's who wins. Who wins on a sale for auction? Because the vendor has some risk because they might lose their very competitive auction that they might get a whopping premium for. The buyer, they might be able to save it if they don't have to pay before auction a premium. So who wins with a pre-auction sale / purchase?
I know this is going to sound a bit cliched, Gary, but I believe probably everybody has some sort of victory in this process.
There's some victory and there's some risk, isn't there?
On the assumption, Gary, but there's risk in everything in life because there's also a risk of ignoring everything, putting your head down and going straight to auction and maybe somebody buys something the week before and you're one less buyer.
Maybe so.
So I think if you manage the process correctly, then I think everybody has a victory. And the victory, and it depends also, every owner is different and every buyer is different. Some people are risk averse, some people run to risk and love the opportunity to have their auction and run the gauntlet. And sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. I guess it depends on your personality, but there is absolutely a world where we live in where it benefits both people in the scenario.
And the estate agent. In the middle.
Well, I'm not sure. There's a bit of byplay there because an auction is great for us, but it also we can put a lot of work into 40 minutes at an auction, where a pre-auction sale might require hours of work on the phone.
Well, we just had one in Elwood, an apartment that we sold just on the weekend. Sold on Friday, and it took all day to sell beforehand. So, who wins is an interesting.
But we win because we get a sale. So ultimately, we're happy.
Let's just say, typical we sell a property, the vendor says, I wish I could have got more, the purchaser says, I wish I would have paid less, and the agent says, okay. And is that how it works?
Yes.
Or is that just being a bit cheeky
no,
and facetious?
That's fair.
No,
well,
fair
it's
enough.
unlike you to be facetious, Gary, or cheeky. There is a hook in all of this, Gary, and it would be remiss of us, because we're on TV, and I know there's a lot of those late night TV segments where they're trying to sell things.
Yeah.
If you want to know a little bit more about how to sell before auction,
or
when to
off-market
sell,
even,
or why,
give
us a ring.
Call now.
And the number will come at the bottom of the screen. But this is a 1 hour special, folks.
Right, exactly right. Anyway, let's get back to St Kilda and Bayside, because we love working that entire area and that market, and we've had some great success in Elwood, although interestingly we haven't yet sold the apartment in Shelley Street, which is a beautiful apartment.
That's going to sell,
That's going to sell, but jump on that one. We'll put some details up.
1 at 18 Shelley Street, 749, older style, block of 4, beautiful part of Melbourne, Shelley Street and Elwood. It's
love Shelley Street.
Yeah,
can you imagine, buy that, settle in there, spring, enjoy summer,
walking
down to the beach. How good.
Beach.
Life doesn't get better than that. And of course, Elwood noted as one of the most tightly held suburbs in Australia.
And one of the best suburbs, not just in Melbourne to invest your hard-earned dollars into, Gary, but the whole of Australia, as you say.
Well, one of the things that we talk about investments, and I'm getting right off script, but you know, the St Kilda, Gary Pearce St Kilda office.
Gary, let's be honest.
No, I know, that's true too. The Gary Pearce St Kilda office have become somewhat of specialists in selling blocks of apartments.
Well,
you know,
it's funny that you mentioned that, Gary.
Wow, segue?
Because we are going to talk about not our 139th sale, or I should say 139th sale
of a block of apartments.
We're also going to talk about our 140th block sale.
Good, we should.
And we're going to wrap that up in an auction sale and in an off-market sale, because I know you're a big fan of the off-market deal, because we did sell an off-market block of flats, Gary, 1 through 8 at 257 Barclay Street in St Kilda.
Yes.
Now, I don't want to name names here, Gary, but there were a number of agents that took this to market. In one shape or form. Many, I should say. Unsuccessfully.
Is this where you're going to be a little bit of a catty real estate agent?
I don't mind to boast.
And I wasn't being a bit catty.
I wasn't directly involved in every facet of this sale. No, so this is not about me. Okay. This is about the whole team, and it was a collab effort between Caulfield and the St Kilda office. And this block of flats was marketed by a number of agents with no success. We took it on, and within a matter of days, I'd like to say hours, we secured a buyer, but it took a few days to nut the deal out. And we got it sold, Gary, for $2,600,000, going where other agents fear to tread, Gary, because they went and failed. And where their failure was our success, and our vendors are very happy with it.
It's almost like walking up Mount Everest, isn't it? And then all of a sudden you see a few, on the side, you see a few frozen bodies. And you think, isn't that a sad story? But then you conquer the mountain and you feel a lot better on the way back.
So I wouldn't have thought anything like doing that. No, and I think it's probably, you've brought the show down a little bit by talking about frozen deceased people on your way to the summit. It just goes to show how cold and callous you are.
I'm proud of it. Look, the block of apartments we just sold last week also was in Daniel Road.
Let's go back to that. That was a midweek auction.
That was a midweek.
Three bidders.
Well, most of the apartment blocks are. There's a few off market. There's a few EOIs.
Yes.
But auction's still great. But that was owned by actually a real estate family. Interestingly enough.
Yes.
And of course,
he himself was a real estate agent. I did work alongside him for a couple of years.
And it's a great compliment to be employed as agents for agents. It happens often.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that sale.
Well, we had 3 bidders on this, Gary. This was a really good block of flats in Windsor or Paran on the corner of Stall Street and Dandenong Road. Strated block, good rental yield, probably underlet, but value add opportunity. And we had, what did we have? 3 bidders, and it got on the market and it sold for a little bit above, I think we can disclose the price, $3,430,000 was the eventual selling price for 10 one-bedders in that fabulous location. So great result.
Excellent. Let's talk about some of our other sales. York Street, St Kilda West.
Let's go to the beach, Gary. Just move in and enjoy the best of Bayside was the board heading there. This was a fabulous 2-bedroom apartment. I auctioned this with Matt Morley. We had a competitive auction and it ended up selling, Gary, for $655,000 under the hammer.
Coming a little bit in from the Bayside, not in St Kilda, but St Kilda East this time, Holroyd Avenue. Great
I love
street.
Holroyd Avenue.
I do too.
I love Dean and Holroyd. They've always performed well. This was a contemporary sort of home in a coveted location. This sold, Gary, it was undisclosed, but I can say it sold more than 2 million, but not as high as 2.5.
Fair enough. That's a good.
I think that's probably giving people
somewhere
a bit
close
of a guide
to the middle or upper middle.
Yes.
Chapel Street, St Kilda. Well, I had the great honour of selling this apartment, and you know what? It was like traditionally, a campaign goes for 3 weeks of opens and the auction the 4th week. This vendor said, look, we just reckon 2 weeks is enough. And in COVID, there were many campaigns where it was just 2 weeks.
A couple of days
and the auction in the 3rd.
Yes.
And it proved to be so here. This fantastic courtyard apartment in Chapel Street, not far from the Grosvenor, down that end of Chapel Street towards Brighton Road.
Opposite Trinity, Gary. Trinity is that fabulous
Have
little
you been
bar.
there?
I've been there a couple of times.
I've never been there. I've got to get there because that was like a schoolyard or something. And all of a sudden, it's a place where you can drink and have a party time.
Well, I don't know what you did at school, but that kind of sounds like my schoolyard. I don't know.
Your school years, anyway. Yeah. So that was fantastic. Sold for $710. It's,
yes, it was undisclosed, but there we
go. We're able to share it with our.
I think you can with the viewers.
Yeah. I think so.
I think these 3 people can find out about it, Gary. I think it's only fair.
Great, all 3 people to watch. But anyway, great apartment, courtyard apartment, and congratulations to Ben Hazen and all the people that were involved in it.
Whilst we're congratulating Ben Hazen, across the road from our office, because you and I meet once a week in your office, and opposite there is a block of flats, which I've talked to you on numerous occasions how I believe the 3 in the number is actually plastered on the wrong way because it's big at the top and small at the bottom. It should be the other way.
Yes,
you made some remark about how pathetic it was that I noticed those sorts of weird things.
I love that you find things like that.
Anyway, this was a modern. This was a modern block, spacious, close to our office, close to the shops. This one sold, Gary, just under $650. Was undisclosed, but certainly in that $6 to $650 range, and a good buy, I think.
And I've got to say, interesting that the agent that sold it actually lived there.
In that apartment.
In that apartment. So how good is an agent being?
Was it the same owner?
It was the same owner.
Imagine leasing to them and then knocking on the door and saying, you know what, I'm now in real estate. I think I should sell this for you.
Yeah, exactly right.
Well, no one could do a better pitch, you wouldn't have thought.
It's good enough for him.
Chose to live there.
Exactly right. I mean, there's no more genuine pitch you can have than an agent that says, you know what, I lived here. So it was good enough for him. It was good enough for the buyer.
Yep.
What else you got to talk about here?
Carlisle Street, Gary. Fabulous ground floor, big courtyard, modern apartment block. This didn't sell at auction. Sold probably a couple of weeks after auction. There was another one in the block for sale with another agent. And they took about 6 to 8 months to sell it and put some little post online about how their board was smaller, but they sold theirs quicker.
Oh, I remember that.
So our board was a bit bigger. So was our price, by the way.
That's right.
$607,500 sold after auction. Took us a couple more weeks longer, but we don't mind waiting if the price is right.
And there's another little bit of meow.
Yeah, well, that agent, you know what,
but that agent deserved it for that because that was just ridiculous.
You know, it's all just marketing, Gary. Everybody's trying to just get ahead of the rest.
A bit of fun, aren't we? $305,000 bought this property.
Well, as it should, Gary, because this apartment block is very cool. This is like living in a resort. 1 bedroom, 305, sold in at 24 at 5 to 9 Fulton Street in St Kilda, Gary.
That's like, what was that show on television where everyone lives around the pool?
Yes.
Melrose Place.
Melrose Place, Gary.
It was a bit like that, wasn't it? Melrose Place, you got the pool, you got the court, you got Club Med kind of St Kilda East.
Club Med, I like it, with the beads.
Exactly.
Now, this is not Club Med, Gary, but this used to be a block of 4 apartments. And our current vendor who bought the block of apartments, there were 4 apartments, divided it back into 2.
Oh, yes.
To make a double-storey townhouse with 2 two-bedroom flats. Did a beautiful job. And it looks fabulous at 125 Westbury Street. We sold that for $1,849,000, which was the asking price. So we sold it bang on the asking price. Great home.
No negotiations. I mean, if something's
there was a negotiation.
Well, if something's well enough priced, it doesn't need to be negotiated. It's just first in, best dressed. That's the price, and it's
good value.
Yeah,
good value. Speaking of good value, Gary, let's go back to Elwood because we had so much fun in Elwood. In Avoca Street, we sold this one too at 22. This one sold 530. It was also undisclosed, but again, we're going to let the viewers know, and we should let these viewers know because there should be a reason why people should tune in to get some of the undisclosed figures. There's another
bit of off-market, undisclosed action revealed right here on the Kilda and Bayside report. Now, that's what sold. What's coming up?
Our sold, Gary.
Out the door they go.
Now, let's talk about what's coming up. 2 at 3A Hewenden Road. I think you might have a bit to do with this, Gary.
That's a great block. It was actually for sale.
I auctioned one of these for you.
You did. Thank you, and I appreciate you did a damn good job as well. Fine job, in fact. But this particular apartment is, this block was offered as a block.
Yes. And
they were always on separate titles, and then the owner said, no, you know what, we're withdrawing it now. You can't have it anymore. And they went to town on this block and beautified it and made it look incredible. And they put security gates in, and they did some landscape in the garden, and they fixed things up a little bit around.
Patch,
just looked
carpets,
great.
kitchens,
plumbing,
bathrooms, everything.
Lots of things done. So you can move into this with not a cent to spend. This is one of the remaining 2-bedroom apartments in the block.
And I believe 670 to 720, Gary, is the range there. And based on some previous sales, there is some
value in it.
Well, not so much value, but what's the word I'm looking for? They're comparable.
Yeah, precedent set there.
Precedence has been set. Well
done,
Gary. I always rely on you as the wordsmith between us.
Don't you worry about that.
So bad I'm going that you're the wordsmith. 11 at 94 Tennyson Street in Elwood, Gary. It's a little drive-by, we call that one. Okay. And you don't know, I just drive by and clip you on the way through.
Yeah.
390 to 420, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 1 car. Just as you turn from Byron Street, you turn left, a beautiful brown brick block just up the road from Tennyson Village, Gary, where all the cafes and restaurants are.
What a great spot that is.
Renovated, Gary, and that one should not be on our books for too long because it's good real estate.
To the pizza parlour there in that strip? Because it looks like it's a very popular pizza place.
Do you know, Gary, I know you don't know it to look at me, but my body is a temple and I don't fill it with pizza.
Okay.
Plus lactose and me, we don't go so well together.
No, my body's a temple too, but it's the temple of doom, unfortunately, not the temple of greatness.
That's actually good by you, Gary. I like it. And I was going to come up with something similar, but you were too quick to it.
Got there first.
1 at 340A, Dandenong Road, St Kilda East. I remember this block because a client of mine refurbed it many years ago and we sold a number of them. This is a beautiful
knocked
older
over in the
block.
rush there. A lot of people have come.
A lot of people, and as they should, because it's an Art Deco elegance with an exceptional al fresco area, Gary.
Love that.
So get into that one, 550 to 6. That's going to be a good home. And simultaneously, I know that that's going well because I opened a home in Lansdowne Road, apartment 3 at 4A Lansdowne Road, ground floor courtyard apartment. A lot of the buyers were crossing over.
Yep.
This is 520 to 570. I think we'll get some good interest in that. So there are a number of offerings, and these offerings all are available now, Gary, and will all be sold, in my opinion, pre that kind of funny July time. So get in June, because if you don't snap it up in June, I think stock levels are starting to dwindle. We've had a couple of weeks where listing numbers are low, cleared a lot of stock. This was our first week where we actually got to probably what we believe is par that the market needs to have if we're going to be able to sell the amount of homes that the market wants.
Yeah, there's been a real supply issue. A lot of vendors just saying, first, a lot of investors have sold and still a few selling off. But those investors that haven't sold are probably digging in now for the long term. So I think for buyers, that little ship has sailed now. There won't be that many available. There'll be some, but not as many as there were.
Interest rates have come down, Gary. I don't think we've done a Bayside TV since they've come down. At one point last week, our partner Philip was on the cusp of declaring, you know, what's that lady, Zoe Daniel, declaring the market was back. He unlike Zoe Daniel, he refrained from doing that. He didn't call it.
She jumped a bit early, didn't she?
I think she's still actually thinking that she's a chance. I think she's fine.
Well, I don't think she's ever conceded, but she probably knows another recount maybe.
Anyway, let's not worry about Zoe Daniel.
Exactly, fair enough. Unfortunately, he didn't win, but Tim did, so good luck to him.
Yeah,
Go on.
Good luck to whoever won.
Exactly.
So, do we think the market's back, and are you seeing signs of renewed confidence in the Victorian marketplace?
More bidders, less listings, a bit of confidence, people seeing value. We talked about blocks of apartments. I can tell you now we are getting invaded by New South Wales and interstate buyers. We just sold an apartment.
And Queensland.
And Daniel McMucker, your right-hand man, just sold an apartment in Windsor on the weekend to someone from Tasmania.
We're actually thinking about chartering a boat to just get them and bring them across to buy one bedrooms.
The only trouble is sometimes that boat can make you feel a bit sick, mind you.
They'll get off and they'll be like, "Yeah, I'll take whatever you've got.
I'll sign whatever. just give me a bucket and just give me a contract."
Callis Scary Pier again.
There we go. And also the property that was sold in Milton Street was sold in Elwood.
Yes.
We should put that up on the screen because that was a great sale. Oh, yeah, we talked about it. But we did, but we didn't talk about the fact that Milton Street was sold to someone who flew in from Queensland.
Yes, Brisbane.
Yeah, they flew in from Brisbane.
We sold a studio student accommodation for someone from Queensland as well. Block of flats to someone from Sydney.
So interstate people, you know, there's that song, "Do You See What I See?" Right? But they're not seeing what we're seeing because we're seeing Melbourne not at its best. But they are seeing Melbourne in a great opportune time to buy real estate.
Who's right and who's wrong in that instance?
Well,
I mean, we're in our own backyard and we're, dismissing some great value real estate, we've got people coming from afar. And maybe that's going to get us going, oh, well, if they want it, maybe I'll take it.
Well, at the risk of sounding, as a risk of offending, when Queenslanders and Tasmanians are smarter than Victorians in terms of Victorian real estate, maybe we need to actually pull up our socks, Victorian investors, and start buying some stuff back into the market again.
Well, to all of our Queensland and New South Wales viewers, I apologise for Gary's remark there. We'll have to send out a press release apologising.
Fair enough.
I'm sure we've got a template for that at this stage.
You know what we do? If you're offended, just stand in a very long queue. No, we don't mean to, exact anything that would upset anybody. Of course
not. You're all welcome here.
You're all welcome. Exactly right.
Just bring a checkbook.
Exactly. Even more welcome. Yes. That is a big wrap on the St Kilda and Bayside report. We're coming into winter. It's a great time to be buying and selling. The offerings are low, but there's some good ones out there. And of course, we're starting to list for spring again already. So,
can you think of something that we haven't talked about yet, Gary?
No, maybe just football, but we're going to stay
I
away
was just
from that.
thinking, we normally talk about our beloved Blues, but we are very tight-lipped this time.
If we don't beat Essendon on Sunday,
how can we? We're a rabble. Anyway, let's not worry about it because none of those footballers watch this show, and if they did, pull your finger out. Thank you for watching. We're going to see you next time, and enjoy the month ahead.
Bye for now.